Hi everyone, now I'm going to show you the inside page. Now this is a trout and salmon. As you can see there, it's from 98. Now I started doing articles for trout and salmon. This was basically the first one I think, but I started writing them in the 97. So basically we had to have so many, I think it was 6, to make sure we had 6 months up front. And one of the first articles I written was called Fingers on the Buzzer. Now, at the time I was working at a trout fishery, I was basically just managing a small trout water. And so it's very easy to experiment and mess around with patterns. And when you got a new material at the time, I think it came out in 96, so we were through 96, 97, we were messing about using what we call, it was Flexi Floss. Now, this is the article here. This is some of the patterns that are tied, and it was to say that people went crazy trying to get hold of the Flexi Floss, and it was months before I could get another packet. And but anyway, it was a great success. But even by the time this magazine came out with these patterns, a lot of the patterns had changed. Slightly changed, but the ideas obviously set it from this article that I did. Now, the main thing about the patterns was that the Flexi Floss was the main material, obviously, and trying to make it translucent so the light would shine through it. So basically the body was just the Flexi Floss. Now I happened to get the range of Flexi Floss from Full and Mill, or some of it anyway. I got the colours that I use mainly, I use a lot anyway, and the colours are really, really good. For instance, obviously the sunburst is there. There's a nice, this here is basically fluorescent orange, but it's a cracking colour. But the other thing about it is how much material you get. It's huge. God knows where I'm going to put the packets like. I'm trying to find a drawer that I can fit them in. But anyway, I'm going to be tying one of the I would probably say demonstrates the idea so that you can actually see it. Especially it was an olive midge. Now I'm going to zoom in. The midge pupa obviously. Now as I zoom in you'll see obviously I'll come in so close so you can actually see it a bit better. It's fine. Now I'm going to put a light onto it, basically off my phone, so you can see the light coming through it. Now, as you can see how the pearl, or in this case this is Opal Mirage, it's the inside, but the idea was to get the light to come through so it reacted just as a natural midge would do if the sun was shining. It would actually, you could see that colour through it. And that was the main idea. As you can see there how well it comes through. Now, thread does go, if obviously you varnish it, will go slightly translucent. But what do you call it? This Flexi Floss on its own, down the body and back up, just makes it really work. So I'm going to be tying this fly just to show you. Now, just switch my torch off. The hooks are actually quite good now. These are black nickel, so it's got a really dark colour through it. So I'm going to be tying this one. Now the hook I'm going to be using is this one here. The Full and Mill, it's a competition heavyweight in black nickel. Now the bronze version is fine as well. Make it a wee bit lighter because of the colour. So anyway, but the dark, just slightly darkens it down. I like this black nickel. Thread I'm going to be using, I'm just going to use the UTC, this one. This is the olive. In 70, as you can see, which is the finest. The 140 is a heavier one. Now we're just going to put some thread on at the thorax area. Just going to remove the waste. Now what I'm going to do here, I've got some Opal Mirage. This is a medium. Now you don't need to cut a length off, you just need to tie it at the very end of the UTC, or the Opal Mirage, just onto the thorax area. Just going to make sure it's tied down. Now I'm going to trim it in line with where the barb would be. Now you can trim it at an angle so you get a nice taper, which I quite like. So just cut at a point. Now the Flexi Floss I'm using is the golden olive, this one. Oops. Yeah, that's the golden olive. Now there's actually quite a few olives they have. I've got 2 or 3 here. There's the Calabatus is quite like a nice colour as well. It'd be certainly worth using. As I say, there is another 2 or 3 there. There's the PMD, which is the Pale Morning Dun colour, which is a nice olive. So you can mess about with these colours, but this golden olive is a nice one. So what I'm going to do is catch it in. Just catch it at the top here, but make sure you tie this in. Make sure it's well tied. I'm just going to trim away, stretch and trim away the waist. You're building the thorax up a wee bit here at the same time, so but you're making sure everything's tied on. Now, the original, as I said, the Flexi Floss buzzers were basically wound. The Flexi Floss was wound down the bare hook. In this case, onto a piece of, as you can see, there's a wind down, just tying that on. Just stretching it out as I go. Just getting it on top. To this point, and then we rib it. We just come back up, tight first. As we come into about the 4th turn, we just slightly loosen off. So we get a taper. Let's catch it at the top. 3 or 4 turns, because we're going to be obviously putting a resin over this. Trim it basically half the length of the thorax, because if you do that, if you don't see it, if you wind it up, it'll stretch itself out nice and tight. We've got the fluorescent orange, this nice colour. Just all I do is fold a bit, and it's less than an inch around the thread, just slide it underneath the hook, and then wind the thread to the back, or to the beginning of or the top of the body, sorry. Make sure it's nice and tight, and we can build up the thorax a wee bit. Just get a nice shape. There we go. Always put a wee half hitch, especially just to stop the thread bouncing off, especially with UTC, because it's got a wee stretch to it. It can easily bounce off while you're trying to form the wing buds. So we just catch them on top. A good 4 or 5 turns, making sure it's tied in. Just making sure it's where you want it. It's fine. Then we can give it a wee stretch, trim, stretch, trim. You've got to have confidence in the tight turns that you've put on, and then just form a head with the thread. You want to finish. Always keeping the thread tight, or very rarely let the thread go. It's amazing how much slack turns or many slack turns can get thrown back if you let the thread go. And then obviously trim. And there we are. Now you can see obviously the Mirage through. There is a wee tail at the back there. I'm just going to leave it. So, as Bob Broads would say, it's a happy accident. It may help the fly. Just a wee bit of flash. But anyway, then what we want to do is then use our resin. Just get the resin I'm using here. This is it's a Bug Bond. Sorry, it's a light. It's really good for obviously ideal for doing flies like this when it's you don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to highlight the thorax at the top. Just get a shape and then just set it. And then always to make sure the thorax is done, especially the wing buds. I like to highlight the wing buds so we get a nice shape into the mid pupa. Set it, and then way back in when we first tied or did these, we didn't have the UV resin. We just used varnish. So there's about 3 coats of varnish to build it up. Just scrape it on really and get that shape. Now I want to come onto the actual hook. The hook is part of the fly, so just run the resin onto the hook. That stops basically any water getting underneath the dressing, because this will turn your resin white. Set. And there we are. Now all I've got to do, like, I like to coat the resins with a clear varnish. I just use a vineyard varnish. So I've got the clear varnish with the brush. It's easier to apply. The brush is a dodo. To apply the varnish, you can spread it. Obviously the varnish will shrink when it dries, so you can apply and you can put another coat in if you want to make it heavier, or you can just leave it. I like it the way it is. That's it. Now I'm just going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to put my torch on my phone so you can actually see how the light, as I say, comes through the dressing. It makes it really good. So basically it does react well with natural light. Goes straight through. You can see how the flash comes through as well, adding colour when it's needed. So there we are. They're basically close to the original Flexi Floss buzzer. The idea behind using the Flexi Floss. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.